Hello and greetings. I'm just checking at the moment that my mic is in sync and everything's working. I have a new mic. I decided to update my Behringer to a Rode Pro Master, not the Podcaster, but the Pro Master. Lucky me. I'm such a lucky girl. Okay, let's see. Before the hordes join us, let's see that everything's working. I'm going to assume that it is. No, I'm not. I'm going to check everything. So Sunday mornings is when I do the news for the week. And I do it because I need to catch up on social media news, what's been going on in the world. And we're in an interesting time. So if you're watching this in the future, hi, how's the future? Who won the election next week? What am I rabbiting on about? Okay, so we've got, so it's not showing up on Facebook. Thanks, Facebook. I want to say, if you're doing live streaming, it's not you, it's the platforms. They're absolute rubbish. And occasionally, if I'm working with somebody who's high profile, like a politician, CEO of a major organization or a media person, then all of a sudden we get really good connections and good everything. And the rest of the time, rubbish. So LinkedIn is saying that I'm live. I can't see it. Facebook is not showing anything at all. I need a drink of coffee. If you're on Facebook, feel free to send me a message. By the way, this is not my cup, it's Gary's, and he took my cup. And the rest of my week's going to be ruined now. Or not. Let me just see what else we've got here. We've got Twitter. So I'm streaming live on Twitter as well. If you follow me on Twitter, you would know I'm Silk Charm on Twitter. Everywhere else I'm Laurel Papworth, I think. Oh no, I'm Silk Charm on Facebook too, my business page. Just going to go to my profile. And so there's a reason why live streamers, YouTubers, vloggers who are doing a live stream always start with that, saying hello and how are you and what's going on and things like that. And it's just we're just trying to figure out whether the platform is working with us or not, or working against us. So I'm not sure if YouTube's working. Personally, don't care about that too much. Let's move on to the news of the week. So what's new with me? Hi, I'm Laurel Papworth. I'm a social media strategist and mentor. I train companies and organizations and do quite a lot of work in politics. And it's, just something that allows me to combine my hobby, fun stuff, the thing I would do normally, which is online community management, with a job. So I'm super lucky. And one of the things I consider that I'm really lucky for is that I get to play with new software. I get to play with tools that maybe I wouldn't normally be given the time to sit down and play with. And having said that, I've been really slack, and I made the decision to shift potentially from Feedly to InnoReader about a week ago, and I still haven't dug in enough to make sure that it's something that is robust enough for what I need. For you, either one of these will work. But one of the reasons I like InnoReader is that it will allow me to add Facebook pages without having competitor Facebook pages, without having to also pay for Fetch RSS, which is when I'm using Feedly, I have to use it in combination with Fetch RSS. You know, like if I want to go to Facebook. Now, Facebook used to have RSS feeds on Facebook pages, but they took them away from us. And if you've been listening to my videos for a while, you'll know that how I feel about that. And it was years ago, and I still haven't got over it. But, you know, I can click on these and still go to the Facebook page or whatever it is that I need to go to. So because I haven't got it fully set up, I can't really rely on InnoReader today to give me the news for us to look at. So I'm going to have to go back to Feedly. Let's see what we have. Now, if you have any questions, social media questions, and it doesn't have to be about news, industry news, and it doesn't have to be opinion, you know, one of my rants, if you've got a question about that, it can simply be how to do something on social media. I am very happy to look at that for you and try and answer it, I guess, is what I'm saying. Thank you, Gary. Yes, I do like my new mic. It's quite interesting to have it pointed towards me instead of across. I think you can still do across, but I'm not 100% sure I've got it in the right position. But the new arm carries the weight of the mic. You guys don't want to know this stuff. It's just me that likes the tech and the geek. Let's see what we've got here. 3 more sources. What's Twitter been up to? Okay, so the Twitter blog isn't playing nicely with Feedly, but I think I fixed that on the vendor strap. Everything's going to be about the election. LinkedIn, let's step forward, LinkedIn. Okay, forget Twitter for the moment. Is this article about deals? I will say, if you're trying to sell something and you want to send people from the RSS feed back to your website to purchase that thing, absolutely give them an extract and a little bit of information. But why LinkedIn hasn't put more, let's just see what they have put up on YouTube. At least they haven't turned ads on. The world of work may have changed, but one thing hasn't. Progress still starts with small steps. Let's take them together. Okay. One comment. So it's a 1-minute inspo voice message, positive message. I'm not going to play it now. I'll have a look at that one later. Because if I play it now, then I have to do a reaction, and I think the look on my face is not going to be terribly good. A 1-minute video for inspirational information in the LinkedIn platform is an interesting voice to have. It's not bottom line. It's about, it reminds me of Instagram inspo, positive messages, be the best you can be, and all that stuff. And there's absolutely an audience for that. I think that that's something that I would keep more in the fashion community, or I always think of LinkedIn as more like a boss mum avatar for women. I'm specifically thinking of women at the moment online, and some of the stuff on Instagram is more positive affirmational messages. I don't know that the boss persona sits entirely within that. But anyway, I'm not going to play the video, so we don't know. You go play it. I'm looking through the vendors list because what I want to see is what new services have come out. And they mix up their channels quite a bit. And I've mixed them up as well, so it's not always good. Facebook dating expands to Europe. Okay. sharing progress on our privacy work. Is this article about privacy? Well, we don't know, do we? See, now they've published the whole article because the information distribution through RSS or through the satellite sites is more important than driving people back to a website. Privacy Matters series. Let's have a look and see what Privacy Matters is. It's really unfair that Facebook is copying all the flack for what is effectively big data is embedded in the community. And I've mentioned this before, but government uses it, banks use it, health insurance companies use it. You'll get a mortgage based on whether big data says you should or not. And Facebook is not directly contributing the data back, at least no more than your credit card, your bank statements, every time you've filled in a form for your health insurance and you've said where you live and how long you've lived there for and what your salary is and all those things. And then at the bottom where it says, I allow third-party partners to access this data, that's where Facebook comes in, and Twitter and LinkedIn. So they're just kind of end users in order to target advertising, absolutely. But the privacy issue is not with Facebook, not in the way you think it is. It's with your everyday reward card. It's with the fact that you didn't read the terms and conditions and didn't think about what the third-party partner was. That's where the responsibility lies. So what have we got here? We've got sharing progress on our privacy work. Accountability. What I'm always looking for here is anywhere where we're asking an American corporation to take control of Australian conversations, because it's not good. Over the past several months, we've made changes to public groups and built new products like shops on Facebook and Instagram. Which shop on Facebook? Which shop on Instagram? You guys have got so many apps and none of them work properly. It's just taking me to the same thing. October the 1st, May the 19th. Okay, so what we've got here is all the different ways that privacy is impacting the different apps. It's important to think of Facebook more like your iPhone. Okay, so there's the iPhone. And if you've ever, actually you can have a look at my iPhone if you want. Bring that up. And let's go back to that one. So there's some apps that I have on my iPhone, and none of them are, it's not a website and all these things are built into the website. It's called a framework, the iOS 11, 10, 11, whatever it is, framework. And apps are added to it. So I don't know if you know this, but the platforms like Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter are built on frameworks. And Facebook's framework is called F8, and it's F8 V5, version 5. So the new version of Facebook is version 5. And the new version is integrating other newer apps in a more substantive way. So not just adding like a MailChimp email app to Facebook or a shop app to Facebook. It's integrating WhatsApp and it's integrating Instagram, WhatsApp and some others at version 5 is at a deeper level. But if you think of a framework and lots of apps on a framework, like an app store for Android or iOS, then you're not far wrong with Facebook. So they have lots of apps. They have, a bunch of advertising apps, and they have, I know, you've probably downloaded the Messenger app. So that's another app that they've added to their framework. So don't think of Facebook as one big website. Think of it as lots of apps, data in, data out, and then behind that are the big data companies, the Australian Quantiums of the world, who are providing their data warehouses. So they collect together your Qantas frequent flyer information, your MasterCard, when was MasterCard deal done? I think it was a few years ago now. I don't know, Bupa, whatever, and then map it to your profile, and then these other platforms can access those profiles and pull them in, which is why the psychographics are really interesting, because they're based on... A psychographic is like a personality profile, a target audience, but not a demographic. It's a behavioural thing. So rather than saying, women who are 28 to 35 and live in the suburbs and have a part-time job, you would say... Sally goes to the gym in the morning, she does 4 flights a year to Queensland, and you can build up this kind of a psychological profile of, Sally likes organic food, she goes to the markets and uses her credit card there. She buys organic wine at the Woolworths or the Coles, BWS, whatever they're called, the bottle wine and spirit shops, and... she checks in at the gym. So, gym, organic food, organic wine, and meditation apps, and whatever it is that Sally does, that's a particular psychological profile, and it's based not on surveys, it's based on behaviours. So I'm always interested in how these organisations work with privacy without the support of government. Because they have an antagonistic relationship with government, we end up in a position where government themselves have large budgets for big data, particularly in Australia, bigger than you realise. And then everything's pushed out to Facebook and Instagram and Twitter as being the bad guys, while these companies are quietly trading data between themselves. What I think they're trying to do is work under the radar. They allow Facebook to take be the fool guy, until everything is so embedded it can't be rooted out. And I don't think the Privacy Commissioner or Commission know what to do with this, partly because government themselves are complicit in it. And this is always an issue when government is doing the same thing that they're supposed to be regulating others against. So if government are regulating privacy, but then are working extremely hard to pull data in on different topics, they're not going to shoot themselves in the foot. Health researchers. But, we don't want to do surveys. And companies don't want surveys. They want to have the API directly into the health systems so that they can determine which suburbs have the highest incidence of skin cancer or diabetes. And this was an issue in the UK, where it was discovered that the UK government, NHS, the medical department, were handing over access, and they were health insurance companies were paying for it to the government to access that data. And we don't have clear enough laws, and I really get quite cross on LinkedIn when I see lawyers saying, "Oh, it's all good and I support this," and I'm like, you don't understand it. So lots of stuff about privacy at the moment. And I would say that has something to do with let me just bring it back to there. Does this have to do with... Let me have a look. I'm going to finish that sentence any minute now. Don't worry about it. Okay. So, does this have to do with the Senate inquiry? Facebook? Something like that? I don't know. Is it inquiry? All right, fine. Whatever. Senate inquiry. Let me go into the news. Senate panel votes to authorize subpoena targeting Facebook, Google and Twitter. Again. And I don't know who's advising the Senate in the US, but they do not know the right questions to ask. You know, Mark Zuckerberg, are you listening to us through Facebook? No. No, you're not. You're using third-party tools to listen to us. It's called ambient environment, and a lot of the big data companies have ambient environment patents. The Apple iPhone. Apple has an ambient environment patent. Google has an ambient environment patent. And if you don't ask the right question, because it's not Facebook that's listening, but they're using the data, people are saying, oh, but when I talk, ads come up. Yes, that's the ambient environment patents at work. It's auditory. So the Senate has voted to bring over their policies to police content online. So here's the issue. This is what I mean by the government undertaking the very things that they're telling that they want to talk to Facebook and Twitter and Google about not doing, are doing themselves. There's a couple of guys in New Zealand who worked with Donald Trump at disinformation campaigns. New Zealand boys. Good on you, New Zealand. And they were recently hired by Australian politicians to do something similar. So we have American politicians using Facebook ads for disinformation, incorrect information, fake news that they're generating themselves. And they're hypocritically then turning around and saying, we need Facebook to stop fake news. By the way, we're the biggest proponent of fake news. And then you see the outrage when a tweet from Donald Trump or a posting from some other political entity has a strap underneath asking people to double check the facts because this looks like an overtly disinformation campaign. I'm like, it's you. First of all, why do we need an independent tribunal? Why isn't the government independent in doing this? And then why isn't the media independent in doing this? Hi, Rupert Murdoch. And how do we find an independent group to assist on this? And then if you ask Facebook and Google and Twitter to self-regulate, and clearly Facebook's, trying to be as transparent as possible with what they're doing. Interesting times. What else do we have in the news? That's enough of my waffle on that one, I think. See what the Facebook developers are doing. And they're using multi-language. That's interesting. Nope, we won't look at that one. What about Facebook developers? Preparing for Apple's App Store data disclosure requirements. This is where we get nested data. So Apple's collecting, curating, collecting, storing, distributing data, and then the platforms have to abide by it. And exactly what I was talking about, Facebook themselves don't do a lot of these things. They rely on their third-party partners. iOS 14 App Store data disclosure. We're going to explain Facebook's data collection and usage practices. Always go to the developer sites. This is where you figure out what's really going on. Facebook app events allows you to measure the performance of your app using Facebook Analytics and measure conversions. Oh, so there's an integration between the app on the iPhone and then what people are doing on social media. People often ask me, clients ask me, which social media dashboard they should use. And that was the previous video where I went through a whole bunch of dashboards for them. But one of the things that I would recommend is that you use the marketing partners. So if I go to Facebook, I think it's marketing partners. Don't you just love this stuff on a Sunday morning? No, don't want that one. I want marketing partners, Facebook. I've got it bookmarked, but I'm too lazy to go looking for it. There we are. Facebook.com/business/marketing-partners. Sorry, I'm just looking at the comments here. I seem to have missed some. So what do we have here? We have, gosh, this is better than Daniel Andrews, whom you're competing against this morning. Thank you. Mr. Andrews reads numbers out for 30 minutes with zero empathy. I'm not sure about that. Other Gary, other Gary, and other Gary. Too many Garys. I think if you're reading numbers, there is an aspect to that where you are reading. It's the engineering voice, so you do have to stick with graphs and numbers, even if it is about the coronavirus. And he does show some empathy, I think, for people. But when it gets to the story part, where you move from 3 people died last night to one was a 78-year-old man from blah, 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 suburb, and our condolences go to his family. So you shift voice when you're in presenting different media assets or different pieces of content, and you have to see it that way, even if it's an extremely emotional topic. And then on YouTube, always find it interesting that pixel targeting on the right of your web page is lots of more ads for studio microphones after we've bought them. Yeah, that's the... Well, what's interesting is pixel retargeting should only be for the company that hosts that pixel. But there seems... I haven't dug into it enough, but it does seem like that data is now being shared. So... if I bought this mic from Studio DJ in Melbourne, and the pixel on their site, let's have a quick look at that one. I want to see what they have. I've got a hair there. All right, let me go to this one. Store DJ. And here's their pixels up here. So they're running Facebook pixels. So I would expect more ads. I would expect more ads from Store DJ on both Google and Facebook. But should I expect ads from their competitors? All this stuff is changing dramatically because the browser companies are starting to block the pixels so that the tracking can't occur, and it's still going to occur. It's going to occur in a different way. It's going to occur by adding a third-party partner to your website rather than asking the browser to do it all. Who knows? Another thing I haven't dug into enough. By the way, that's really good coffee. Sunday morning coffees are the best. So they've embedded Trustpilot. Oh, I don't know. There's one that you can embed that's from Google. And then Google reads its own scores and then decides on your SEO based on it. But I also, years ago, looked into how Google ranks SEO on reviews, and they definitely look at the major review sites, maybe not the small ones, but the major review sites, and pull in reviews and creates a sort of authority ranking, kind of authority ranking from that. Don't quote me on that. Not an SEO expert, but definitely I looked into the papers on it. So we've got the pixels here. Yes, I bought a mic. I would expect ads from Store DJ. What I shouldn't be getting is ads from their competitor. You can, however, because you've used a credit card, cop other ads, because it's possible to, for instance, take out an ad on Facebook where you say, I want to target people who've bought podcasting equipment or audio equipment or something in the last 30 days, actually 28 days. MAU, monthly active user. So it is possible. All right. Just looking at the comments. I'm just going to write a comment back. Thank you for your questions. I'm tracking #Q and A on #social media to answer more. We've probably got time for a couple of questions. But I've sent that out, I think, on all the platforms. So we shall see. What else is big news at the moment? Oh, Messenger API to support Instagram. This is what I mean by Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp is a framework, and then there are all apps within the framework, and Messenger is one of those apps. So think of it more like a matrix structure, and it's basically, don't think of them all as being separate verticals. Giving businesses new tools to manage their customer communications on Instagram at scale. Well, that's good. If you get a lot of questions and lots of comments, like, 16,000 Messenger responses to one post. Messenger, not just oh, that's nice, but actually asking questions becomes pretty tricky to handle. Over the last year, total daily conversations between people and businesses on Messenger and Instagram grew over 40%. Thank you, COVID. I knew that it was massive. And I knew, for instance, that TikTok had grown in Australia by 55% since February. So it's interesting to see these numbers. I need to make a note of that one. I'm talking to a lot of businesses who've reduced their social media marketing during coronavirus instead of amping it up. So even though there are more people than ever on longer, more active on social media since February, March, they themselves have pulled back on their marketing. And, you know, it's fine. We all wanted to go to bed and stick our head under the blanket or pillow or whatever and just hide from the world. But as we emerge, getting ready with a new content calendar and a fresh social media strategy, not the same thing, they're different things, is important in order to grab a share of attention while there's such a massive increase in the socials. So they're using alpha partners. That just means beta partners, or they're calling them alpha. It doesn't mean that they're alpha as in top of the list. It means that it should mean that they are the first partners to get access to this. So if Clarabridge are using the beta version, 55% increase in their response rate. Adidas, Amaro, Glossier. So we're looking at sports brands, that's makeup, fashion, magazine, Louisa, Michael Kors, handbags, NARS makeup, Sephora makeup, textile fashion group. Lots of fast, large catalogue services. I don't see many tools being developed for B2B, and that's a disappointment. I personally don't need 20,000 comments an hour, but I need really good integration with small CRM systems that allow me to work, to have like a hub and spoke kind of approach between my CRM, my customer relationship management systems, and then the businesses that I'm working with. Some of those businesses are pretty big, so there's quite a lot of moving parts, I guess. There's a bit of difference between working with a small hairdressing salon and the Department of Health. You have different requirements. And a lot of the tools are really well geared towards fast fashion, fast food, FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods, like supermarket type things, large catalogue companies, furniture companies, and things like that. Anyway. Which model mic did you buy? Rode? Yes, the Procaster. And I got I don't know if you can see it. Yep. I got this cage because I'm one of those people who throws her hands up and knocks mics around the room. So the cage actually suspends. You know what the cage does. I've probably got the box for it somewhere. And then I got a new arm as well, because the other one that I had, the mic would just start to drop and then I'd have to drop. So we were always playing a game of catch the mic. I didn't like that game very much, so I got a new one. 15 minutes left. Yeah. A cage because you thought the mic would run away from you. Exactly. It was running away from me. Don't they call these cages? I don't know what else they call them. It's a PSM1. There you go. Don't ask me what PSM stands for. I have no idea. And that's a lot on Facebook I've done today. I'm just going to have a quick look through my social media monitoring dashboard to see what else there is. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Pinterest is launching a new program to lift up and empower the kinds of creators who make and share ideas to act on. They need to work on their blog or article headings, but we'll see. So it's about creating a call to action. Actually, let me move myself out of the way. You guys know what I look like. So, I just went to the bookshelf and picked up a couple of books. One is The End of Charity, which is about building social enterprises, which is that sort of sweet spot between social media and building community of action, COAs, activism communities. And that one's by Nick Francis, if you're interested in it. And It's Your World, So Change It. Oh, mine's so old now. By Tom Head. And it's about creating social change through social media. I do think there's an aspect of social media where people think it's just for coupons and promoting special offers, and I want to see a bridge between businesses pushing out marketing and consumers responding with cancel culture. So cancel culture is that where the business has been shown to have poor values, misogyny and sexism, the Me Too movement, or is not vegan, or has been disrespectful around Black Lives Matter. So some of the makeup brands, you know who I'm talking about. Cancel culture is the consumer voting with their dollar, and they've always voted with the dollar, but now they also have a voice. So they're pushing back on marketing messages that don't meet their value-based systems. I don't have an issue with cancel culture, and I definitely don't see it as pejorative, so it's not a negative thing. If you take, though, this sort of cancel culture, well, I'm just not going to buy your stuff anymore, and I'm going to tell everybody else not to buy your stuff. And some of that is now being made illegal, particularly by the more right-wing governments. And I'm talking about Australia and America, where you're not allowed to incite others not to purchase, but you are allowed to say you won't be, my understanding, but you're not allowed to say it, you're not allowed to instigate others not to purchase. And this came out in Australia because of the cancel culture around Tasmanian wood and the felling of the native forests in Tasmania, and then secondary businesses that make furniture being impacted by cancel culture. So regulations were brought in to stop people from creating a cancel culture. So we have that on one side, and then on the other side we have businesses pushing a spin, fake news. This product is the best thing in the world, and just saying whatever they want. And there is truthiness in advertising, not truthiness in political advertising. They get an exemption, but for normal products there is. But there needs to be some kind of a middle ground. And I do think being able to visualize a service that you want to create to change the world, creating community around that, getting the original funding from Kickstarter to make a platform. And it could be a peer-to-peer fundraising platform specifically for a niche, or it could be volunteers or jobs, or there's so many different ways that it could go. It's a more positive step from cancel culture. So cancelling what we don't like is easier than figuring out what we do like, and then changing the world, making the world shift just slightly to fulfill that change. And at the end of the day, we're teenagers, if that. We're probably tweens when it comes to the humanity having democratized now media and mass communication. We're tweens in learning how to throw tantrums and not throw tantrums online. But I'm always looking for and searching for all the case studies that allow me to show how, individuals have changed the world. Now, some cancel culture things have worked really well. I think the one against Coke was super organised. That was quite a few years ago now. And against Coca-Cola, and they did everything by documenting the emissions from Coke trucks to the amount of handbag theft that happens around Coke machines to the chemicals in Coke and the health issues that come from that. And it was like there was this anti-marketing department. Others, I think, have had a positive outcome as well. So they started off as a cancel culture. Dell Hell was one. And then as people were documenting the issues they were having with their Dell machines, the community started solving their issues. So it became a peer-to-peer support department. And Dell ended up putting in CSR's customer service into Dell Hell. And then I think they eventually funded Dell Hell, and then they gave it a rebranding and a rename, and now it's an online customer service forum. I don't know if it's still around, but it's had an interesting evolution. But anything that allows us to move from negative I don't like to how can we make a change is good. So getting back to this, genre-defying creators. It's not just the things you can make, but the things you make us feel. Floral arrangements that can lift up culture. Desserts that challenge societal norms. Outfits that turn insecurities into boldness. Yeah, I like this. Just out of interest, what is the name of the lass in The Good Place that has an Instagram account about being body or being you positive, being positive about you? Let me see if I can find her. So, actor, The Good Place. Somebody should tell me the name. No, you're slack. Jamil. Jamila means beautiful. And then I Weigh. That's it. Okay, let's have a look. So this is her official one, 3.3 million followers. But if we go to I Weigh, 1.3 million. It's about radical inclusivity so that no one feels alone. Amplify, advocate, and pass the mic. It's saying that you are more than what you weigh. The sum total of you is more than the number of kilos. Reasons to stop calling women females. So it's sharing positive feminist messages, I guess. And I suspect, see what I mean by bumping the mic, that Pinterest is looking for, actively seeking out and supporting these kind of influencers, which, let's face it, is more positive, I think, than simply somebody who's got a lot of followers for their fashion account on Instagram, or their goofiness on TikTok, or their Zara haul, H&M haul on YouTube. We have not been supporting typically what I call social media meals versus social media snacks. And the whole idea that we can come together as a community and change the world always gets overridden because companies are in a race to get to low-hanging fruit. The person who does drama channels and outs other industry, people in their industry. And I was watching one this morning about gaming and gamers outing each other on a particular topic. Doesn't matter what it is, because it's pretty well the same. It's about, I'm going to create the social paradigm, and I'm an influencer. I'm going to influence the community, and I'm going to create this political storm and create an issue. And it's a part of the play of influencers finding their boundaries and their parameters of how much influence they have. It's backfiring in the gamer community, but whatever. And this does, there's the same thing with James Charles and, that young lady, what's her name? Anyway, go look them up. Jeffree Star, James Charles. If you Google that, and you'll be jumping down a rabbit hole for months trying to track everything that's been going on there. But what if we can bring the community together to make positive change on things, and not just sort of a survey for Greenpeace or organising a march, but something long-term and sustainable. So not snacks, but meals, full-on meals. And we're getting there, but it's going to be a while. We've democratized media. Now we need to democratize politics, which might sound a bit odd, but if you think of a republic or you think of representational democracy, we need to democratize that and move to direct democracy, which means upgrading our education system. So therefore we're democratizing education, and the new some of the new tools around nano education and nanotech is kind of interesting. Anyway, waffling. Last few things, let's keep going. So there's a Pinterest Creators Festival. See, this is what you find out when you sit around and waffle on a Sunday morning looking for what's new in the community. I like this. I like this. This is good. Wow. It's the first time I've seen women over a large number of women speaking at a conference that's not specifically about women. Normally, I'm used to seeing a conference about social media or something, and then it's a sausage sizzle. Primarily men speaking. Okay. I might sign up for that. I'll have a look at that one, see what it's all about, and then report back to you. And 1 minute to go. So, what did we talk about? I've answered all the questions about the mic. That's interesting. I'll tell you what I can do. Let me put the camera on here. And go to here. And then we go. So Gary, if you're interested, which way up do I have to do it? That way. It's a bit of a mess. There's the old mic, Behringer B1. This is the ATEM, where I can switch mics on and off and all kinds of stuff. I do tend to prefer to use this, so I don't know if you can see, but I'm using OBS Project, which is free software. And then I have my Zoom, and then that's for private, so I have a private setup here. And then I have my multi-platform, and then I have Twitch, and then the option to switch to different screens and play my countdown videos and put on lower thirds and things like that. There's the chat one to bring the chat up, except of course I'd be using this one. And they're slightly different setups, which is why they go to different cameras and different things. For my camera, I have set up the Sony and a ring light behind that, and then I have an onboard monitor. In the background there, that's a shower curtain, and it cost me like $5 from Bunnings because I wanted to soften. We have quite harsh light coming in here some days, not at the moment, it's overcast today. And what else do I have? Then I have, I guess, the preamp. So I've been playing with the preamp with the mic to see if I can get a decent voice on it. Anyway. People seem to like to see the setups of how I do my Zooms and how I do my live streams, and I haven't got the second. I have got the tripod for the second camera set up, but I took it down. I've got to rejig a few things and get the second camera set up, and that allows me to switch views. So when I'm looking at the monitor, I can still look at directly into the camera rather than switching back across. And also sometimes the Sony, I've noticed, goes off because it overheats, and I've changed the settings to say don't turn off when you overheat, but I'm a bit worried that it's going to explode on me, so maybe that's not a good idea. I don't know. All right. And I have in the background here, and there's one on the other side but you can't see it, our Lifix lights, and that means that I can change the colour of the light just by scrolling through different colours and find one that I like, and that responds well with the camera. There you go. All right, I'm going to have to love you and leave you. I'm still planning on running a 2-day course at the end of November on Instagram and Facebook for intermediate to advanced. It's not really for an absolute beginner who's never used any of these tools before. We do go through the basics, but very quickly, and then straight into algorithms and ads and content calendars and tools and analytics reports and things like that. So if you're somebody who wants to sit down and have somebody sit with you while you set up your Facebook page or your very first ad or your very first Instagram, this course may not be for you unless you're very quick on, willing to work quickly with us. And I'm running a session for a small group. If you're interested, let me know. On preparing for Christmas, because the algorithm starts 28 days before, you have to start well before then to make sure that, while Christmas is such a huge time on social media for users, lots of companies give up over Christmas. They shut their marketing department down for a week. So we don't want to do that. We want to get some things organized so that we can fit in properly, I guess is what I would say. And we want to fit in, not just buy now, special offer, but actually get share of the conversation over the holiday period. Thank you for your time today, and I will see you this time next week. I've shifted from 1 o'clock to Sundays, in case you hadn't noticed, because nobody wants to do work stuff on a Friday afternoon And sitting there watching me drink a glass of wine while you're trying to get out of the office and get home and enjoy your weekend is probably why I wanted to test it. So we did 3. That's enough. Let's move back to Sundays for the time being. Thank you and have a lovely, lovely